First off, I hate the word restoration because it is not accurate. What we have here is an effort by the Senate Republicans to cut less than what the governor proposed. There's not money being put back into these programs. That in almost every case, they are simply suggesting that we will cut less. There's no restorations here. The cuts that happened last year were horrendous. For higher education, it was 18% across the board, and then the governor froze an additional 5% mid-year, 23% cut to higher education. There's no restoration even under Senator Corman's proposal where he proposes level funding. 23% cut last year with level funding this year means we're still at a 23% cut. So the term restoration is just a misnomer. All they've proposed to do is make the cuts less severe. When they talk about reducing Governor Corbett's 20% proposed cut to 10% when it comes to the counties, once again, it's still a 10% cut. It's not a restoration. So the reality is the Senate Republicans have simply tried to diminish the amount of the cuts that have been proposed by this governor. There's a lot more that can be done. But in the interest of fairness, let's say hooray to the Senate Republicans for taking a step in the right direction. They took a step in the right direction. They didn't restore anything. They simply said we'll cut less. Now, if we can get the House Republicans to work with us, we would like to do the same, take an additional step in the right direction, and actually get to a point where we're restoring funds, because we know there's at least $300 million more on the table, $315 million as I understand it, on the table that could be used to minimize the impact of the cuts that the governor proposed. I think right now, under what the Senate has proposed, the focus has to be on basic education and the county human services, because the Senate has tried to get back to level funding with last year, albeit still a 23% cut as the governor imposed last year. Higher education has been brought to a point where their funding would not be decreased further this year if the Senate Republican proposal was accepted. There are still cuts under the Senate Republican bill to county human services as well as to basic education. So I believe from the House Democrat standpoint, we will work vigorously with our friends on the other side of the aisle to try and see if we can direct additional funds. And I mean additional funds. I don't want to take them from someone else, take money from higher education to help basic education, or take money from corrections to help county human services. We need to add additional dollars. The $300 million that is on the table, $315 million that is on the table, should be used to try and minimize the cuts that remain in those areas.